management doesn't really happen when I'm not here, right?
Sorry.
If I don't lead the revenue management discussion, then generally like nobody will take charge. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So well, let's maybe get that a little bit stronger here at our company, so we don't have a single source of failure. So let's see. Let me see. Let me see. What would be a good discussion topic to have right now? Um, okay. Do you want to try leading it today, Rizal?
Um. Yes. So.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Give it a shot.
Yes.
Give it a
Yes.
shot.
Yes.
All right. So I really don't go according to the plan because revenue management is one of those things. I feel like it's like freestyle rapping for me, right? I can just sort of
Yeah.
pick up and I can start talking about right away. But let's say for example you're here, you're going to lead the discussion. What would be the first thing you want to talk about?
Um. First thing first, maybe. What property that not sell correctly.
Yes. Okay. Let's take a look at that.
Mm,
What property isn't selling correctly?
okay.
Let's take
Okay.
a look on your beat.
So if I can
Okay. All right. Have a
start
good
the
trip, guys.
discussion.
Yeah. The girls are going to Nusa Penida, so here this is Rizal.
Bye.
They're gonna go visit your
Hati-hati
island.
jalan.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Hit me, Rizal. Yeah, tell me what's up.
Okay. So can I share my screen, sir?
Absolutely, sir. I'd love to see your screen. Okay.
Okay. First thing first is I want to show you what on my plate now. And so currently I'm handling three properties right now. This is Tegar Penida, Manta Cottages, and Babar. But the one property that not sell correctly is Tegar Paradise that um, I have set price low than previously.
Mhm.
Now currently is three for 370 for twin bedroom and for 28 for double bedroom. Okay, let me show you the kit first, and then the bigger step.
Hey, I have an idea for you. Do you have a
Yes.
hypothesis why this is happening?
Hmm. So my hypothesis is
Cynthia, tell us
probably
how many people are
the
at the harbor today. Yeah, when you go, take like a picture and send the result with how many people are at the harbor. Okay. 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 Oh, okay. Fantastic. Come on in. Yeah. See you. See you. Just see you, Cynthia. Okay.
okay. Probably the price is too high than the competitors uh, Nusa Majesty maybe.
Mhm.
Wait. So this is the calendar of the Godfather guys that not not sell not sell correctly. So and for the previous price for the Godfather guys, it's very uh, okay. The, this is the pin page, the monthly revenue, and you can check for the last three quarters that that is the monthly revenue from Tikar Paradise that I think that's not sell correctly until this time, and the weekly sales is to too low, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the price for this month.
Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yes. So I also this is the previous price from Tegar Paradise on the room number 345. That the previous is 500, almost 500 previously, and at this November, I think I set to 370. I think it's a safe price for this month.
Okay.
I think that's all from me, sir.
Got it. And after, just out of curiosity, when did you make the price to 370 for November 1st to 30th? When did you make the November Airbnb prices?
Sorry, sir.
How long have the November Airbnb prices been? Like when did you set the prices for November?
Oh, I start from the 1st of November. At 4th November.
Okay.
This I set to this, and then I low price, and then I low it again.
Okay. Hey, welcome in, Alvin. All right, fantastic. Let's go to let's take a look at the BV stats then, result to see what the booking pace
Yes.
was after November 4th. And I see. Okay, and how many units is this property?
5.
Okay, so the booking pace looks good or bad?
Sorry, sir.
Okay, Tris, what does the booking pace look like? Is it good or bad? Yeah, it's pretty bad. Okay, so the booking pace, it improved after you made the change on November 4th. It went like it was from 1 a week to 3 a week, so that part looks a little bit better. But it's already November 25th, and it's been 2 weeks without a booking, right? And the last booking you got was on November 10th. So effectively, there's only been 3 bookings in a month. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so I would say this too. The Alvin, what do you think is the best way to deal with this situation? So what Rizal has done is already he's cut off almost like 40% from the August price, right? From 500 to 300, and the booking pace improved for a little bit, but it's still pretty low. And as we know, yeah, we're looking at essentially a five room place. A 5 room place should be getting about 10 bookings every week, so we should be up to about 30 bookings by now. But we've only gotten 3. So Alvin, in this particular case, what do you think we should do?
Sorry, your voice kind of breaking.
Oh, okay. So the situation's been like this, Alvin. The Tagara Paradise has 5 rooms. There's only 3 bookings right now for it in the entire month, and it's priced at 300, right? Rizal? Okay. So what should we do now, Alvin?
Actually, I face similar situation like this. I'm trying new things basically. I'm trying to raise the base price, but I set the standard price still same.
Okay, got it.
It's gonna show actually on the Airbnb if I'm not wrong. It's gonna look like that. Actually, I'm giving a discount.
Okay, interesting.
Because
It's
I
a
set the
little
base
bit of
price.
a playing. So you're moving the base price up, or you're moving the standard price down. Okay. Okay, so it shows us kind of like a discount, right? Okay, interesting. Tris, what would you do in this case? Or let me ask you, Tris, do you think Rizal's plan is successful right now? So Rizal's plan is to improve the booking pace by moving it from 500 to 300. But looking at the data, is it successful right now? Yeah. Okay, he doesn't think so. Okay, all right. Let's go to Alvin. Alvin, do you think Rizal's plan so far is successful? Oh, there's no background music on my side.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, Alvin. What do you think of Rizal's plan? Is it successful or not?
To be honest, I don't think it's successful.
Right. No,
Looking at the Booking
we have
Vista.
to be frank. Yeah. I would agree with both Alvin and Tris in this case. Sorry, Rizal. Yeah. So it clearly can't be successful if we've only made 3 bookings in a month, right? That would not sustain our income. So then the second part is why, right? And this is the process I want everyone to go through. Why do you think it's not successful? Let's go to Tris.
Sorry.
Why is Rizal's plan not successful?
Yeah. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Guess they only got 3 booking.
Oh, right. That's that. Of course, that's true.
Yeah.
But why do you think there's only 3 bookings? What could be the potential reasons for?
Okay, that's maybe like right now it's low season on
Okay.
November.
Okay, could be low season. Okay.
Yeah.
And
the price like high.
too high for low
Yeah,
season.
too high
Okay.
for low season.
Okay. Could be low season and the price is too high for low season. Okay, interesting. Alvin, what is your hypothesis?
First of all, with the calendar still empty, then it's not about unavailability.
Uh-huh.
Secondly, yes, I think it's about the market price around that area too.
Okay.
Lastly, will be the last time, the last thing that we actually can we check is from the listing itself. Is there something wrong with the listing? That will be the last steps that actually, if the first one, let's say about the market research and the price and thing is already good,
Mhm.
then the last thing is the listing from the listing.
Fantastic. Okay, very good diagnosis, Alvin. Okay, all right. So here's what it could be. It could be something wrong with, let's say, us, right? So it could be that our price is wrong. It could be that, let's say, the listing's wrong. It could be that maybe there's a bad review on it. There's all these things that we can do a checklist real quick and just scan and make sure that we're right. If we want to check the price, it's pretty easy. Just look at, let's say, what's around it
Okay.
and see if the price is within the same range, right? But there's also one more possibility. These are, let's say, on control factors, right? These are factors that we can control. What is a few factors that we cannot control?
Like weather.
Okay, like weather. We can't control the weather. Okay, all right. What's another factor that we can't control?
Are we can control the market, right?
We can't control the entire market. We can control maybe a portion of the market from the number of properties that we have. Yeah, so we have, let's say, I don't know, 15, 20 properties, so we can control that. But how else would we be able to diagnose this? Okay, let's go to Rizal. No?
I don't have any idea, sir.
Okay, great. So remember, guys, at the end of the day, you only have a few things you can actually do, right?
Okay.
So don't worry about too many things that you cannot do. Just worry about the things that you can do. So the way I always equate this is, if you are on a sailboat, you can only really change the direction of the sail and the direction of the rudder. You cannot lift your boat up out of the water and make it fly, right? You cannot, go underwater under a storm. These are not things you can actually do. So you can just start with what could you actually do. So you can change the price as a revenue manager, right? You can respond to maybe a bad review as a revenue manager.
Okay.
You can maybe put in a content request to fix the content as a revenue manager. But that's about it. Am I right? Or is there any other things that you can actually do as a revenue manager? Not really, right? You can talk with the owner and maybe get a new lower price, but that's also a sort of a price adjustment, okay? So it's pretty much just price and content. These are the two things that you can do. So this is your sailboat. Your sailboat, you can control the price and you can control the content. Okay, so then your hypothesis then should be, does the price or the content change anything anymore? So let's say, for example, we were to bring this price to 100,000 Rizal, right? Do you think you would get, let's say, more bookings then? The question is to Rizal. Rizal, if the price of Tagara Paradise is 100,000 now instead of 300,000, do you believe that there would be more bookings?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you know that though?
Because the property is good, it has pool, and then if the price not high as right now, I think it can be more bookings.
I don't agree with you there. I don't agree. I don't think that's the main way that you would know. I agree that that is a value quality, but if it's let's say 100,000, you should be sure if there's going to be bookings, right? It should come from a more concrete source. Alvin, how would we know if we change the price to 100,000, would there be bookings? Would there be another way we can determine that cause and effect relationship?
Mm, yeah, the question is, do I? Sorry,
Okay.
just to make sure about the question.
The question is, if you brought the price down to 100,000, do you expect there would be more bookings, right? Rizal
Mhm.
gave a pretty good answer. He said, okay, hey, look, there's good quality, good pool, all that, but there should be another way to determine that if it would get bookings if it was 100,000. That isn't let's say based on quality. It's more affirmative. What way would we know for certain if the property would get bookings if it was priced at, for example, 100,000?
Now we check on the other property if actually around that price,
Okay.
someone actually gonna book the property too.
Okay, good. So you would actually then reasonably look at this, right? You want to be able to check, let's say, other properties not in Bukit Vista, but you can check other properties in Bukit Vista and see what price they are and are they getting bookings. Okay? Because it could be also true, Rizal, that nobody is going to Penida, and therefore whatever price you sell at, there's just no bookings anyway, right? So when you make, let's say, a very dramatic price drop, be sure that you still have a market because your market might not even be there. So then essentially the problem might not be price. The problem might be just arrivals. There is no arrivals, so therefore there's no there's no bookings. Now, if you see that there's, let's say, a lot of bookings at 100,000, let's say you find that there's 100 bookings at 100,000 and maybe 50 bookings at, let's say, 200,000 and then 25 bookings at 250,000, then there's a gradual, let's say, slope that goes up there. But if you look at, let's say, 250 and there's zero bookings, and you look at 200 and there's zero bookings, and you look at 150 and there's zero bookings, and you look at 100 and there's 10 bookings, then essentially it could mean that there's nobody there. This is why I asked Cynthia to send you a picture of what's happening at the harbor. Because if she goes to the harbor and she's the only person on any boat there, then you would know effectively that, hey, maybe there is actually no overnight visitors there, and that's the real reason that there's no. And why am I saying this? Because it's important to know when the market's gone, so that you don't keep on driving the price to a ridiculous low figure that doesn't really make any sense. Because then what can happen is something very terrible. All right, what's the worst thing that can happen? The owner's worst case scenario is what? They are always so worried about something happening. What do owners always worry about?
Yeah, there's no income.
Not even worse than there's no income. They worry about something that's even worse. Alvin, what's like the owner's worst fear? Worse than no income.
Mm, cost.
Selling at a loss, right? Selling at a loss. So if basically lowering the price gets you many more visitors coming in, then that wouldn't be selling at a loss. That would just be selling at a lower profit margin. But let's say, for example, you sold a few rooms at 100 and you only sold 2 room nights at 100, then it was a loss on both room nights, right? Because you never got enough to pay off the minimum. If you sold at 100 and you sold, let's say, 500 room nights, then that's still a good amount of income. So this is something you have to be careful of as a revenue manager. If the market is dry and there's not enough people willing to pay even the lowest price, then it might be better not to sell at the lowest price. Because yes, you might get a few bookings, but it might not be enough to cover the operational expenses or anything of those nights that are picked, right? Make sense? Okay. So remember, when we sell gap nights and all these other things at a discount, it's because the main nights have already been sold and most of the operating income has been sold, right? So the gap nights then essentially just cover whatever else. But if all you sell are gap nights, right? If only thing that you sell is at like 80% off, then you do have a high risk of running into a worse loss than if you left it unoccupied. Yes, you'll still have to pay for the pool. Yes, you still have to pay for staff. Yes, you still have to pay for your fixed costs. But at least, let's say there is no more, there's no more loss, right? But if you've sold at a loss for every single, if you've only sold a few bookings at a loss, then that will feel terrible. That will feel like, I didn't make enough. Okay. All right. So that part we also have to be careful of. Okay. In this particular case, Rizal, I think the biggest question is there any other property that's selling in Nusa Penida at a higher booking pace?
I think the higher booking place is Merta Beach.
Okay. And is
Yeah,
it selling higher or lower than 300?
higher than 300.
Okay, all right. Great thing. Now, let me explain what I think is happening. Or well, let me not explain. Why do you think Myrta Beach is selling and this one is not then Rizal?
I think Merta Beach is the property that beachfront,
Mhm.
and then it's located with also with snorkeling facilities,
Okay.
and then I think that's it.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
All right. Alvin, what do you think it could be?
Yeah, the property value, sir.
Okay. All right. Tell us more.
Basically, it's kind of we compare it is between apple to apple or not. If the value is different, then of course the market can also different.
Okay.
Let's say the market can also be differentiate or divide in each category, right? Maybe someone actually looking for a higher value property, but also get a better property
Yes.
or the better value on it. So no matter if we actually sell it lower for Tegar Penida, let's say,
Mhm.
but actually someone looking for a better value not better value and kind of price, but actually better value in, let's say, on the property itself, on the facilities on the others.
Yes.
So I think that's the one that actually can affect on the booking piece.
Okay. Fantastic. Here, let me share a concept with you. Do you guys know what a watering hole is? Those. Okay. So let me share with you this concept. Alvin's smiling. Yeah. Do you see what's happening here? See all these. This is a watering hole. This is a situation that happens in Africa a lot during the dry season. In the equivalent situation during the, let's say, the wet season, every property gets tourists because the water level is high, right? During, let's say, really low season like November, only the watering hole gets tourists because it is in the lowest position possible, right? Which basically means in most cases, the highest desirable locations are the ones that essentially still get visitors even during the lowest season. What you don't see is actually during peak times, the highest value locations, like beachfront locations, they could actually accommodate maybe 5 times more visitors than actually go there. How do I know that? La Jolla, all right, La Jolla Bubu. We used to put up 5 times as many listings as there were actually rooms, just to kind of like, see how much the demand was and see if we could move them to different resorts. And every peak season, even after a room had been booked, there'd still be 4 to 5 more people who'd still want to book that same room. And the reason is because that stuff is a very deep watering hole. There's a lot of demand for it. And most of the time during peak season, people choose to compromise and book something else, like maybe the Alchemist or maybe something away from beachfront because the beachfront stuff is already full. Now during dry season, everybody goes to beachfront first, and then they don't go to anywhere else because they don't need to go anywhere else because now they can get availability. Does that make sense? Okay, so you might have a watering hole phenomenon in low season. So only the most desirable properties still get bookings, Desirable meaning the value point, what they offer versus their price, and everything else stays pretty dry. Now, this is normal. This is exactly how a vacation rental market works. So when all the most desirable stuff gets booked, then people book the second most desirable. When the second most desirable gets booked, then people go to the third most desirable, and so on and so forth, right? So you can also understand the value of a property like To God Paradise based on this principle too as well. If, let's say, during low season, it doesn't get booked, then it probably cannot be in the most desirable category yet, okay? All right, Alvin, it's your rotation now. Show us the kind of the work that you've been doing. Tell us what you've been working on.
I'm doing evaluation for my monthly projection actually, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe if you open up the paper of monthly projection report November,
Okay.
I'm process right now on evaluation and also creative for the December. One thing that value is almost 6,000, which actually really miss of my is really a miscalculation from my side. I don't really take this as a factor when actually I'm creating the target. If actually there's no cancellation at all, I actually already passed the target for this month.
Hey, fantastic. Very good.
So yeah, but once again, this also still my learning, which actually a cancellation can also affect a lot, especially in case of squad one.
Yes.
Which meant we have a lot of villa, a big value, especially. So right now I'm still kind of calculating on how to make for the December one.
Okay.
For each property, basically, I'm doing like a petrol, as you know. So it's really hard for me to explain it to you one by one because I'm just doing it based on the calendar. But this is what I do for today. Basically, I'm checking up for my November and also do evaluation for it. One of the things is great.
Got it. Hey, okay. Sorry to bring up dirty laundry, right? But let me just double check something on the squad one because I see it a few times and I see that there's still cards post dated behind today's date. Is that normal, Alvin, or what's?
No. Actually, yes. Few days ago, I also cleaned it up a little bit. The one that might be probably the most probably that I'm gonna left is mostly by lot 356.
Okay.
But the other is for villa for Bingin, especially like being Asmara, Bing Luna and something. I'm still kind of double check it again because it's still brand new for me. But
Okay.
I'm still monitoring it in the end. Sometimes I kind of forgot to move it from the calendar.
Right. That's important because let's say, for example, for me as let's say the delegator for that particular task, that's how I know if you're doing the job, right? I look at that and if I see it's not moved, then I go, negligence, right? So
Yeah, I believe just one day there's a kind of pile up for a few villa, on Bingin especially, lot 536 and the others. But I'm and what else? I'm with Luna and the others. Even rumah pertama, I double check it and also update the paper when I'm doing a little bit of experiment for a game night. Mostly on Bingin area, so that I'm not still fully handled.
Okay, got it. Do you need let's see, we haven't had a very, let's say, complete delegation process yet. So okay, let me tell you the truth. I have not been working on any revenue management, as you can probably tell. Because I'm trying to keep the company together right now. So so that part is my blind spot. It could be your opportunity to pick up all those beats if you want, but also what can I do to assist, let's say, you covering the section of my beats?
As of now, basically, right now I'm just making sure to set up all the rates until the next peak season.
Okay.
Also, it's also included with the Bingin Villa and the others. I'm still doing it. While I'm doing it, I also do push rates and also push availability just to make sure. So that's basically the basic. This also that kind of take a bit of long process. But supposedly for this week, I'm gonna done for all the Bingin Villa.
Like kind of fun. Okay. Let's see. Alvin did something that he told me was pretty interesting. I thought. What's a takeaway result that you can have from Alvin's actions? Let's say, for example, if you're feeling like working in November is really hard. You're discounting and you're trying all this stuff. It doesn't work. What's something you can work on instead? Over to Rizal.
Sorry, sir.
Okay.
You're freezing.
Okay, let's say for example, when you're discounting at Tagada Paradise, right, and it's not turning any results, and it's like, oh, the booking pace is still low. Um, should you feel frustrated, or is there anything else you could work on in the meantime?
I think I can do a market assessment and then find uh, what's the price from the competitor, and
Okay.
then um,
Like,
maintenance the listings, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Tris, go ahead and ask your question.
Rizal, why we do market assessment? Okay, sorry. For I know, you know, like when
To I think to like what's the condition of the market right now at the around the God Paradise.
Okay, and let's say Rizal, you
I think we can see from the competitors that the availability of the calendar.
okay, all right.
okay.
Perhaps. Okay, we can look at our competitors, see if they have, let's say, more or less availability. Um,
I think yes.
we don't know how it closed, right? Maybe it was a booking, maybe it closed, maybe they're doing maintenance repairs, maybe they're doing something else. It's actually very common in November to do maintenance for a lot of properties. So if you're doing a market assessment, let's say the key thing that you're looking for probably is anybody else getting any bookings? And if that particular piece of information is not accurate, then your market assessment might not actually be done in let's say the best use of your time, right? But there was something Alvin did that actually I wanted to bring mention to. Alvin, what did you do?
Okay, so basically, I'm raising up the base price, but for the standard price on the rates table, I'm still keeping it up, or
Okay.
maybe just lower it out a little bit.
Okay.
So in the end, in the Airbnb, it's gonna show that actually we give a bigger discount
Okay.
to the property.
Okay, that was one thing you did. You also did another thing. You set the future prices, right?
So after that we
Oh yeah,
Right. You set future
actually
prices.
set up the future price, especially for peak season.
Yes.
This also the one that actually Squad One property
Yes.
pretty important because we have pretty long booking windows or
Yes.
pretty long booking window and villa especially.
Yes.
So just to make sure we don't sell it under price.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alvin. So, Rizal, Tris, basically during low season is a perfect time to start planning the next year's prices, right? It's actually not a bad time to start thinking ahead about 2020 and start activating, let's say, I know in Penida that's probably not as, let's say, urgent as Squad 1, where there are very long booking windows, but it's part of that decision tree process that we talked about. If lowering the price doesn't work anymore and you can't lower anymore, then raise the price, but not on the current month because that makes no sense, right? But raise the month on future months. And that reduces the amount of work you're going to need to do during peak season, right? So you've effectively distributed your work so you won't be too busy like raising prices later when you start getting those first bookings coming in that are underpriced because you're like, what? Why did I sell it for so cheap? So there's always something you can do and enact in and then low season. Why do we not have revenue goals? Why do we really not have real revenue goals and revenue focus during low season?
because it's low season. Right? I mean,
Because it's not a good use of everyone's time and effort.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Low- we have a low activity on the season, right?
Yeah.
So we drive our focus to another team that maybe is in the future. Right?
yes, that I would agree. So essentially during low season, why should we aim for revenue when you need guests to have revenue, right? But if there's very few guests and they're not cooperating, then the focus can be on all the other things we need to do to let's say drive peak revenue during peak months, such as we need a team, right? So that's important. We need to get our team together, we need our team to have excellent processes, and we need to have all that good stuff, right? That creates really world class teams in order to have that. So mostly the focus during low season is to prepare for peak season. But as revenue managers, you can start preparing for that peak season by looking at peak season dates and thinking about those dates now. Yeah, and that would be a better use of your time and energy than trying to get bookings on a place that ultimately it's just that there's not enough people coming in and there is no water, right? So that's the idea. Make sense? Okay. All right. Great. Yes, Alvin. Okay. You have a thought?
Little talk basically from me. When I'm actually set up a price for a peak season on 2020, usually we think that actually a peak season only end around August, but for the peak season 2020, actually I set it until around almost middle of the September.
Okay.
This way is actually for you to let's say as insurance for you. Someone actually do a long term booking, kind of like 1 week or 2 week, even at the end of the August. Because on this month, on this year actually, until of September, we pretty get high revenue.
Yes. Very good. Excellent. Excellent observation, Alvin. And I think that's feeding forward the information while it's still fresh in our minds before we go into any other season. Okay. Great. Great stuff. So there's some good learnings here. All right. So I think we covered that part. Let's see. Alvin, did you have any revenue management topics you would like to talk about?
One thing that I kind of sometimes thinking is about, let's say someone asking for a discount, especially. This is actually what happened for a revenue manager. Sometimes on the reservation they gonna ask revenue manager, let's say a guest asking for a discount.
Yes, sir.
For me, I think let's say a percentage. So maximum if I'm gonna give a discount by request, let's say last minute or maybe just a gap night, at max is around 20% for a negotiation.
Okay.
But I also want to hear any advice or maybe insight on that.
Fantastic. Okay, so for let's say last minute discount, Alvin likes to give 20% based on availability, right? Okay. All right. Let's go to Tris. Tris, how would you give a last minute discount, or what would you think about giving discounts?
Giving discount. Everyone want discount, right? That's maybe bad for like us, right? For the owner, but maybe giving a discount, maybe that's a solution, man.
Okay.
When we face low season or low occupancy.
Okay.
Yes.
So Trish likes giving discounts, yeah, if it's low season or low occupancy. Okay. All right, let's go to Rizal. Rizal, what are your thoughts on discounts?
Discount is the best action to take more bookings on the gap night, but not for long empty calendar.
Okay, so it depends on what the availability looks like. If it's a gap night, discounts are favorable, but if there are solid blocks of time, then it should be not discounted. What if the whole calendar is empty? then what do you do?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay, Alvin, I would say this, right? Whether or not you give a discount, the easiest way to make a consideration is what's the next best offer, right? If there is no next best offer, or what's the possibility of the next best offer? So if there is no possibility that there's a next best offer, then you should probably take whatever deal is in front of you, right? That's the way I see it. If, let's say, your booking place is slow, you have an empty calendar, it's a low season, the probability, let's say somebody wants a 50% discount, but they'll buy all your rooms, you should probably give it, right? In my opinion, because there is unlikely another person to come by. Let's say, for example, Tagar Paradise, right? Let's say somebody offered Rizal, I'll buy it all for $150 a night. What should Rizal say? I'll buy the entire month, all 5 rooms, for $150 a night.
Sir.
Okay. 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 Let's get Rizal's opinion. Rizal, what would you say in that particular case?
Depends on the monthly revenue that maybe my opinion is monthly revenue of the previous month, that if the revenue is not it's not too far from the selling point of this
Okay.
offer. I think I can give the price.
Okay, got it. All right, let's go to Alvin. What do you think?
Well, for me, usually, I'm checking, let's say, yes, how many available night. I'm usually checking based on months. Let's say it's November, and it's only we have only let's say 5 to 10 days left, but actually the calendar is empty. I'm gonna do just like what you said. So basically, I'm gonna sell it with the best offer that I can.
Okay.
But I also kind of consider with the others, especially for let's say Rizal and the others. Maybe sometimes you're gonna get a question from the reservation because they are not the one that actually know the price and anything else. So I'm looking for advice for it. Also maybe another insight.
Okay. All right. And then
Yeah.
Tris wanted to say something.
I
Yeah, Tris.
just want to say something about the occupancy. Let's say in Nusa Penida, right?
Mhm.
Can we just looking for what guests are looking for to Nusa Penida? Maybe we can observe like the event, like maybe like Manta even like a lot of Manta there. So someone going to Nusa Penida, going to diving right to there.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean just like how can we talk to the owner? How about you at the facility to give
True.
free
True.
driving to
You can
Manta?
do that. You can do that, Tris. Absolutely. That would be more of a structural build, like adding amenities and adding services into that. But sometimes that doesn't appeal to every guest, right? Like not all guests go to, let's say, Nusa Penida to look at, let's say, the
Okay.
Manta. So you might be adding this, and it might not actually give value to the person who wants it. So you have to be kind of like circumspect about, I think, what to bundle in and what to bundle out. It could work. It could work. It could be a good idea. You say that, hey, look, stay with us and we give you a free Manta experience. But then it's hard to do that on Airbnb because you can't limit the dates for a special deal. Okay, but all right, let's go back and analyze what we said. So okay, we have different discount policies. Rizal said he would look at the previous month, and Alvin's looking to get advice and also dialogue with reservations. I would say essentially, yeah. Look at, let's say, what the monthly revenue goal is, and then decide if this is adding to the goal or taking away from the goal. That's why it's important to have a monthly revenue goal. If this is adding quite a lot to the monthly revenue goal, then you can always justify that decision. You can say, hey, look, we're already 90% done with the time that we have for the month, and we're only 10% towards our revenue goal. This person offered something that would bring us 75% to the revenue goal before the end of the month. So I said yes, right? Otherwise, we will only achieve 10% of the revenue. So I think any sensible owner can actually accept that as a reason. And I think also it's like, yeah, it's based on do you expect there to be a better offer somewhere else, right? And you can kind of understand that from the booking pace. You can kind of understand that from what the next best offer could be. So I would say that, Alvin. I would say as a revenue manager, I would check the booking pace. I would look at the revenue goal. I would look at what the weekly sales were. And if all of this, let's say, and the occupancy, of course, gap nights, I would take a scan at all of it, and I would make a decision based on that. And this is why we have the guild, gentlemen. We have the guild actually to build intuition and discuss different cases, because each case is slightly unique, and you do need to look at a few different inputs to make a judgment. And I mean, if you're already over the budget and a person says, "Hey, look, I'm going to give you a lowball offer," I guess you could say no. I'll just wait for something better, or I'll just chill. Right? It's fine. Or you could say yes, and I'll just tell the owner I made extra money over the budget too, as well. So there are, I think, different amounts of. Alvin, I would say it's a little bit like a gambler, right, in this game. So you have to make a poker. This is why I love revenue management. For me, it's kind of like playing poker. It's sort of like you take a look at the odds on the table and you see what's going on, and you got to make a bet. And it is a probability game. So you might take the bet today and you go, oh shit, there was another guy that offered twice as much yet the next day, and then like it's too late. I've taken it already. But you never know. Maybe you don't take it and you'll never get anything. So I tend to be a more conservative player. I'm not very aggressive because I know in Bali somebody will find something else. Somebody always finds something
Yeah.
else. Right? So I know I'm never the last option anybody has. So in that particular regard, I always, if I have the attention of a guest and they're going to make a deal, I usually think that is the rarest thing. The attention of the guest is pretty rare. So I usually like to take and secure the deal. Not a, okay. Lot five. I'll give you a counterpoint. Really quick. Lot five. We gave a deal to those two in what would I call ungrateful two guests, and that was kind of a disaster, right? Right. So there was already a group of two, right, and they asked for a discount below the base rate, which is set for two people, and we give it to them twice. We give them one discount, and then we give them a second discount. And then what do? They move from room to room to room, right? And then they complain that they can't use all the rooms. And we're like, well, you only paid for one room. And then they complain about something else, and then they complain about something else. And so then I'm like thinking, that's probably not that great of a risk. I thought like that was maybe we should have just left it empty. But it's one of those things you learn over time. There is always a trade-off. There's always a cost to any discount that you give. Might not know it, but it might be your team's time. It might be aggravation for air support. It might be some other factor that isn't necessarily easy to detect. It might be even a bad review. Maybe you give a discount and this person's a cheapskate, and then they give you a bad review afterwards, and you're like, "Geez, why did I even take that?" But I think this is something, Alvin, each person can learn from others, but also they ultimately, you develop your own style. I think you develop your own style for what you figure is a good time to give a discount, when is not a good time to give a discount. And yeah, cool. Is that a good answer, Alvin? Okay. Okay, great. We're actually ahead of schedule today by 5 minutes, which is really nice. By the way, I saw something happen. Rizal, let me double check this with you, right? Do you do revenue projections at each property every month?
From for this month, I do projection for Babar only, but
Okay.
for the December, I will do the three property that I have.
I don't know if you need to do that. I think that's a little bit too much work, honestly. I think that creates. Well, what do you think, Alvin? Is that too much work or?
Actually, depends on how many revenue major that you have, sir. In our particular case, quad one, I don't think we can do that because there's too much property.
Is that necessary to do? Because in Squad 1, we just give a revenue projection for the entire year at the beginning, right?
Yes, now that's different, right? I don't know about on squad 2 and I believe a few of squad 4, they do a projection for each month because they don't have really a projection for a yearly or annually. I think for, let's say, for a new property, yes, we don't need to do that. Basically, we just need to monitor because we already give them a projection for 1 year,
Right.
for next 1 year.
Okay.
But for the old property, I think that's depends on also the owner. If they actually someone that pretty, let's say, complain a lot or anything else that we need to give a trust,
Okay.
we give them a data in the end, right? To show
Okay.
them, okay, this is what we can do, give for you.
Okay.
Or maybe let's say they don't trust that we actually can sell or anything else. This also approve for them.
Okay, got it. Understood. Okay, let's go back to Rizal then. Rizal, in that particular case, the owners seem to appreciate your projections.
Not really, sir.
So honest. That's what I was like, no, not really. Okay.
Okay.
All right. If that's the case, then I think you could save yourself some work, Rizal. Yeah. Maybe do it for yourself if you want to get better at prediction. But there's no urgency to do it. And the reason I brought it up was because I saw some people on content get overloaded, and I don't want this to overload you guys. So I would say if it's not a priority and the owner doesn't seem to appreciate it, then if you have other work, then I would say prioritize that. Okay, Rizal.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, am I right? Am I right, Alvin? Did I do something that is that correct judgment? Does that interfere with any other person's judgment?
It's also actually a good training, sir. I'm actually doing it with Cynthia right now.
Oh, yeah?
Try to make a projection for 1 month on Kinton Guest House.
Okay, do it for fun then. If you-
Yeah, I'm doing it as well as for training too. In the end, sometimes a few property will be different. If you really actually kind of think that that property doesn't work or anything else, I think that's the best time for you to make a projection for that particular property that you're really concerning.
Wow, I'm impressed, guys. You guys are pushing the art to the next level now. That's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, that's a higher SLA than I expected, right? For projections. Okay, well, good. If you guys are enjoying it, then the gift of revenue management has really been transferred. I'm happy about that. Okay, great. I've noticed also everyone's progressing along in the revenue management course too as well. I think now you guys are more solid. So. Yeah. Anyhow, that will probably reflect also in that will reflect in the portion of revenue management bonus we pay out to everyone's salary as well. Okay. Thank you. Wow, that's actually really cool. This guild looks like it's taking off. Okay, fantastic. So that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up today? Okay. Do we need to meet 3 times a week to do this? Okay, I'll offer 3 times if you want because I like to do it. So it's just like I'll talk about something revenue management related, but it is not mandatory. I'll say this, guys. It is not mandatory to attend each meeting to get the revenue management bonus. Right? That's not the point. The point is I host a lot of these in order to drive awareness, in order to create that intuition, because it's really hard to create intuition without, let's say, a lot of experience with other revenue managers to what do you do in this case? What do you do in that case? So like a lot of business things, the case study method is generally the best method. So that's why I do it. And also I do it because eventually I want us to think about how, like tomorrow, how to program computers to do these things quickly for us so that we just program the computers and then they sort of make the decisions. And then we analyze the results and then we tell the computers what to do next. That I think would be a more accelerated way to do revenue management too as well. Okay, great. Thank you guys very much. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Whoever wants to come, please show up tomorrow at 4 and we'll